Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to talk about how to automatically update your Linux servers or Linux virtual machines using Ansible and Squid proxy. Now let's say that we have dozens or even in some cases hundreds of virtual machines that needs to be periodically updated. Now manually doing this task by logging into each server and typing the update command can be very time consuming. So the solution to this is to automate this entire task using Ansible and updating all your Linux servers from one centralized location. So in today's video we have two virtual machines, VM1 and VM2, and these two virtual machines doesn't have internet access, but we are going to use Ansible and Squid to update these two servers, and then we're going to check if these two servers has been updated successfully or not. Configure our Squid proxy server. So we're going to head to our server. I'm going to enter the root mode sudo -i. Then I'm going to update my system by typing apt update and apt upgrade. Now if you're using, I'm using Ubuntu server. If you're using a different Linux distribution like Red Hat or CentOS, this might be different for you. And then I'm going to click enter, and it's going to upgrade and update. I've already did this before, so it won't do anything. And then I'm going to install Squid server. To install Squid, you type apt install squid -y, and I've already installed it, so I don't need to reinstall it. So after we do this, we're going to head to cd etc squid, and then we're going to open Squid configuration file squid.conf, and here we need to modify few stuff. The first thing, we need to select the port which Squid is going to list on. So we go to HTTP port 3128. As you can see, this is the port that Squid is going to listen on. By default it's 3128. You can change it if you like. I'm going to leave it as it is in this video. Since it's the second thing we're going to do is we need to define the subnets that's going to connect to our Squid server. So as you can see here, Squid server is on the following subnet 192.168.1.0/24, and our virtual machines are on subnet 20.0/24. So I'm going to allow both of these subnets to access Squid, and by doing this I'm going to head down to ACL localnet, and this is a place where to find which IP addresses or which subnets are going to access your Squid server. So I'm going to create here a new line. I'm going to type ACL, and I'm going to name it anything I like. I'm going to name it local subnet, then source, and then type the subnet of the Squid server. Then I'm going to create another access list. It's called remote subnet source, and then I'm going to add the subnet of the virtual machines. After we do this, we need to go down to http_access, right here, and we need to add a new line, which is http_access allow, and then we're going to type the names of the access lists we did earlier, which is local subnet, and remote subnet. After we do this, we need to restart our Squid server with systemctl squid.service. And after we restart it, we're going to check its status to see if it is working properly or not. So we're going to check the status of our Squid server. Squid, and it's running properly. So now we have finished our Squid server configuration. We need to test this configuration. So now I'm going to check the configuration of the Squid proxy. So I have already added a firewall rule to allow my internal zone to access the proxy server on port 3128. So I'm going to check this by going to my virtual machine and telnet on the proxy server on port 3128. So it's working fine. Also to check furthermore, I'm going to type the following command: export https underscore proxy equal and open double quote http 192.168.1.22, and then I'm going to curl -b https google.com. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to add the port here, 3128. Now I'm going to curl, and it has worked successfully. And this is how you check if your virtual machine can see the proxy server successfully. So now we are going to set up our Ansible server. So the first thing we need to do is install Ansible. We're going to enter the root mode. Then after this, we're going to add the Ansible. I already, so I don't have to type it again. After that, we're going to update. And after we update, we need to install Ansible by apt install Ansible. I have already installed it. So now after we install it, we need to create an Ansible user on all the hosts we need to automate. So we need to create an Ansible user on Ansible server and also an Ansible user on VM1 and VM2. So go ahead, create an Ansible user here. Add user Ansible underscore user. I'm going to give it a password. Then I'm going to leave this. We don't need all this information. So I successfully created. I'm giving sudo user mode -a g add group sudo ansible user. And afterward, we need our Ansible server to run sudo commands without having to type a password. So we're going to cd etc sudo directory. We're going to create a new file named Ansible user, and then we're going to add the following: Ansible all no password all, to make Ansible use sudo command without requiring a password. And we're going to repeat the same steps in the three virtual machines that we have. So we're going to go to VM1, we're going to add an Ansible user, going to repeat this in our second machine VM2. So now that we have done this in all our servers, now we're going to set up the Ansible hosts file and the Ansible playbook. So we have these two virtual machines. We're going to add them first in the system hosts file. So 20.0.0.10. I'm going to call this VM1 and 20.0.11 VM2. We're going to ping on both of them. So we're going to ping on VM. We're going to ping on VM2 to check. So the next thing we want to do is that we want to add our hosts to the Ansible host files. We're going to go to etc Ansible and edit our hosts files that exists there. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new host group. I'm going to name it Linux, and I'm going to add VM1 and VM2 inside of it. And then I'm going in Linux var section, I'm going to specify the Ansible username, the Ansible password, and then I'm telling him to use the sudo privileges, and then Python interpreter is Python 3. And after this, I'm going to create, or first thing first, since we are using password authentication by default, Ansible doesn't allow password authentication. It uses SH, so we're going to edit Ansible configuration file, ansible.cfg, and we're going to add the following line, which is host key checking false. Then we're going to create a new playbook, and what this playbook does, it runs on the Linux host group that we specified earlier, and it uses root privileges. And here we specify an environment variable, and inside this environment variable we specify our squid proxy that we have set up earlier. So we specify HTTP proxy to be the IP address of our squid server, and also HTTPS proxy, because these two machines cannot see internet by default, so they require to connect to the proxy in order to update. And then we have 4 tasks that we're going to do here. First task executes the apt get update command. The second task execute apt upgrade command, and the third task is basically check if the system requires a restart so the update can be completed. So how does it check this? By default, if you run the apt upgrade command and the system requires a reboot, it creates a new file in the var run section. This file is called reboot required. So what this task does is that it checks if this file exists, and if this file exists, it registers it as a reboot required file, and then in the last task it reboots the system if the reboot required file exists. So after we have specified our playbook, of course this configuration file, I'm going to put it in a link inside the description. Now we need to run our Ansible playbook. So we're going to type Ansible Ansible, and we're going to type the playbook name update.yaml. I'm going to run it, and now it gathered facts that it can connect to our virtual machine, and now it's going to execute the update command and the upgrade commands. So it might take a while, and I haven't upgraded these virtual machines at all. So I'm going to pause the video until this finishes. So I have finished running the playbook, but apparently it had failed in the check if report is required. And I researched this and I found that the problem was in this line get empty 5. Apparently you need to change it into get checksum equal false. Now if I run the playbook again, of course it's not going to update since it already updated, and now in the report is required it's skipped, so it didn't update the system. So now we have successfully updated our virtual machines using Ansible and Squid proxy.